Just to give a brief introduction about Mr. Fikru, I think you know him well, and I was expecting that his profile will be displayed in the screen. But just to give a brief introduction about him, Mr. Fikru is a very known personality in the insurance industry, so he looks young. He has achieved many credentials supporting his personality in the insurance industry. He has a number of professional qualifications, as you see it there. He is also an author of a book on Islamic insurance, Takaful, which is an award-winning book. He served in the Ethiopian Insurance Corporation and is currently serving for the Ethiopian Insurance Corporation. He has also a role on the Society of Insurance Profession as member of the executive committee, and currently he's serving as vice president of the Society of Insurance Professionals, SIP. So his contribution for the sector is very important, and has been delivering a number of presentations in different occasions and giving training on various institutions. So Mr. Fikru has got a very rich profile, and his presence today will give us a very important insight on the topic of discussion. So Mr. Fikru, you have 20 minutes to present your paper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your warm introduction. I'll be speaking today about the need and importance of independent insurance regulatory authority in Ethiopia. As you might know, behind every successful insurance industry, there is strong regulatory authority, and many studies convincingly show that how a given insurance supervisory authority is structured and functions has a great impact on the growth, development, size, nature, and complexity of the insurance industry. So having a robust, independent, and strong regulatory authority has a great importance for the success or failure of an insurance industry. The issue of regulation has been around for many years. Many countries in the world, including many African countries, they have a very strong independent insurance regulatory authority, or they are in the process of making one. So we also expect, our regulatory authorities to modernize the sector and even rebrand the regulatory authority to properly support the industry and create enabling regulatory environment. Regulatory authorities, especially the independent ones, are structured to safeguard the industry and the country from at least two failures. One is government failure, which is coined as undue influence and sometimes improper political interference on the nature of the industry. The other one is their ability to prevent market failure. By market failure, we are talking about creating enabling regulatory environment in terms of market conduct and leveling the competitive landscape for players, and especially guaranteeing stability in the insurance industry. So we expect strong regulatory authorities to play these roles. As I said earlier, having strong regulatory authority means success for the insurance industry. When we see the top performing insurance industries in the world, out of about 195 plus countries in the world, the top 20 insurance markets, they have very strong regulatory authorities. And By the way, the insurance industry overall, even in the world, is a highly concentrated market. The top 20 insurance market in the world constitute more than 90% of the global gross written premium. For instance, in 2024, when we see the top 5 performers, starting from the US, they have sometimes more than one regulatory authorities targeting the insurance industry. For instance, in the US, they have regulatory authorities at the federal level as well as state levels to properly support and nurture the insurance industry, apart from the controlling aspect. In China, they have the Chinese Insurance Regulatory Commission. In Japan, they have also a very strong regulator. In the UK, they have what they call twin peaks. They have Financial Conduct Authority and Prudential Regulatory Authority, targeting the insurance industry, and especially in the controlling and support aspect. In France, they also have a very strong, this is the global picture, but when we come to Africa, for instance, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, many countries, as I said earlier, they have either a very strong independent regulatory authorities or they are in the process of making ones. So the modalities of restructuring or structuring the regulatory authorities differ from countries to countries, but the most successful ones, they have independent authorities dedicated to serving the insurance industry. Here, these are the list of about 14 countries in Africa who have dedicated insurance commissioners. If we start from Kenya, they have the Insurance Regulatory Authority, EthioRE. In Nigeria, they have NICOM, National Insurance Commission. In Ghana, they have the National Insurance Commission again. In Somaliland, they have the Somaliland National Insurance Authority. In Egypt, Niger, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, almost in all African countries, especially in the strongest, even in the strongest markets, they have dedicated independent regulatory authorities. So we also expect Ethiopia to follow their paths and to have an independent regulatory authority. When we see, especially the board composition, for instance, if we just pick the case of Kenya, the board composition of the regulatory authority is derived from different authorities in the country who have a strong stake in the insurance industry. For instance, the government of the Central Bank of Kenya is represented in the EthioRE. The Chief Executive Officer of the Retirement Benefits Authority also has a seat in the board of the EthioRE of Kenya. The Chief Executive Officer of the Capital Markets Authority has also a seat in the board of the EthioRE. Permanent Secretary from Ministry of Finance or his representative, a nominee of the Insurance Institute of Kenya, and 4 other prominent and knowledgeable personalities from the insurance and financial industry have also a stake or a seat in the board of EthioRE. So if we must have an independent regulatory authority, we also expect our regulatory authority to have board members from different stakeholders who have a very vested interest in the insurance industry. As I said again, having an independent regulatory authority has a linear relationship or direct impact on the growth and development of the insurance industry. For instance, if we see Kenya, by the way, is currently the 4th largest insurance market in Africa. Next to Egypt, Morocco, and South Africa, it's the 4th largest. They have an independent regulatory authority. Currently, the population of Kenya is about 56 million. We are saying we have 126 plus million population, but when we see the size of their market, the gross written premium written in Kenyan insurance industry, it's between 2.6 billion USD to 6.7 billion USD. But in our case, it's about 410 million. Having such potential, great potential, it seems that we are lagging behind others. So even to penetrate, to improve the insurance density and penetration, having an independent regulatory authority may have its own impact, apart from others. It's not the only factor, but it will have a great impact in nurturing the insurance industry. When we come to our, the case of Ethiopia, in different, regimes in Ethiopia, in different, governments, we are following different paths. For instance, during the imperial regime, the insurance controller office was there. At times, it was under Ministry of Commerce, the then Ministry of Commerce, then especially at the end of the imperial regime, it was between the Central Bank or State Bank of Ethiopia. But during the Derg regime, since the insurance industry was, a monopoly, it was like a one-man show. Supervision and controlling was all about, controlling the state-owned parastatal Ethiopian Insurance Corporation. But after, domestication, domestic liberalization of the market after 1994 up to now, the regulatory authority is stationed under National Bank of Ethiopia. This is the current structure I found on the official website of National Bank of Ethiopia, and the Supervision Directorate is somewhere annexed under the financial cluster, supervision cluster, and this, department or cluster is responsible for, many other offices also. So, as we can see, the attention given for the insurance industry, as well as the independence given, the level of independence given for the authority seems somewhat weak compared to others. So coming to where we are now, about this having an independent regulatory authority, we are hearing so many promises after promises, especially from the officials of the National Bank of Ethiopia. So many, mainstream medias and social medias also, they are declaring the commitment of the National Bank of Ethiopia. After conducting so many interviews with the officials. When we see some of them, this just I brought all this just to show you how much the National Bank of Ethiopia is repeatedly giving press releases and interviews to show its commitment for the opening up of the independent regulatory authority. Starting from 2018 and 2020, so many mainstream media, especially the print industry, they were saying a lot about having independent authority. Reporter የኢንሹራንስ ዘርፉን የሚመራና የሚቆጣጠር ራሱን የቻለ ተቋም የመመስረት ጥያቄ ተቀባይነት አገኘ የሚል ዜና December 4 2022 ላይ ሰምተን ነበር. Even others like Fortune, the Reporter, including Atlas magazine. Even Atlas magazine has said a committee of experts is assessing the final recommendations for such a decision. And this transaction is still pending the approval of NB's board of directors. This news was broadcasted or issued in the year 2022, but still now, we are in the process of having our own independent authority. This is what the National Bank of Ethiopia also has said in its recently issued official strategic plan of the bank. Under its 5 strategic objectives on page 29, the bank has said they are developing they are in the process of developing an independent regulatory authority, or it will be realized or starts its operation in the year 2025. By now, since we are almost close to June 2024, if all things are going, as per their plan, they are by now, according to their strategy, they are by now in finalizing the legal and regulatory frameworks and finalizing the organizational structure and initial strategy of EthioRE, if things are going as per the strategic plan. So, but what do we mean by independent regulatory authority and why we need them should also be raised in this forum. As to me, always the insurance industry, practitioners, scholars, including the association, were voicing about the need for having an independent regulatory authority. And here are some of the benefits that we want to get from that authority. First and above all, we expect the independent regulatory authority to play dual roles on the control aspect as well as the development aspect of the insurance industry. And we expect the regulatory authority to go beyond, to go extra miles from the standard norm or the standard functions of a regulatory authority and to start to work on in areas that could nurture the insurance industry. The role of independent authorities has evolved over time, apart from controlling. When we see the mandates of different regulatory authorities, the mandates are evolved. For instance, some countries, the mandates of the regulatory authorities of some countries state, they work for nurturing or developing the insurance industry. Some work on the ensuring fairness of premium rates. Some say they work on the promotion and public education about insurance. Others work on the safe and sound insurance, establishing safe and sound insurance markets. Others work on promoting fair and free competition in the insurance industry. Others say they are engaged in research and development and innovation. Others are working on promoting fintech, insurtech, and regtech. So when we see, what we call the conventional or the standard mandates of regulatory authorities are evolving from time to time, and they are doing extra, things or efforts. They are showing their commitment for the nurturing and development of the insurance industry apart from the control aspect. So we also expect the new regulatory authority to come up with such evolved mandates of regulatory authorities. We need independent regulatory authority because insurance is different. Always we say that the functions, the business models, the mindsets, and even the skill required to supervise and control the insurance industry is quite different from that of banks and other financial institutions. So the National Bank of Ethiopia or any other interested group should think this way and start stop using the one-size-fits-all approach. Insurance is different. It requires a different skill setup. It requires a different administrative apparatus. So we also need the independent regulatory authority to give the recognition to the unique nature of insurance. That is our ardent expectation. The other issue is if an independent regulatory authority is established, it can also safeguard failure, single point of failure. It also will avoid confusion and it will build trust in the eyes of the public. Apart from this, since we are talking about opening up of the market, we also expect the new regulatory authority to be forward-looking and take into account the imminent impacts of the opening up or liberalization of the authority and come up with standards, especially in ensuring independence of the supervisory authority and also safeguarding the independent function of the authority. The other issue is if we must have an independent regulatory authority in Ethiopia, it should also meet these international criteria. For instance, according to the international standard of supervisory authorities, if a given regulatory authority must be considered as autonomous or independent, it must fulfill at least some of the criteria. They call them the 4 pillars of independence. It should be independent in terms of supervision. There should be supervisory independence. By this, we mean they should act without any undue influence. There should be supervisory independence. There should be institutional independence also. And by institutional independence, we are saying the authority should be at least, free from undue influence of the executive and legislative branches of the government. There should also be a budgetary independence. In most countries, these independent regulatory authorities, they have financial freedom, and they act without any budgetary influence from the other parties. So we also expect to see budgetary freedom also. The fourth one is regulatory independence. It's about having prudential independence in terms of executing or controlling the industry. So at least these criteria, some of these criteria must be fulfilled if we are about to establish an independent regulatory authority. Otherwise, if the new regulatory authority comes with the same fashion or the same way the previous regulator was operating, we may not experience the expected results. So we need to take precautions in this part. I have some pointers that the new independent regulatory authority should consider while incorporating the authority. The first one is the authority requires qualified manpower and professionals. They should have a proper criteria, fit and proper criteria to select those people who are, maneuvering the authority. So they should be well equipped with the right people, with the right attitude, with the right caliber, and the right skill and knowledge. That's one issue. The leaders and all the technocrats of the authority should have the necessary knowledge for running the industry. The other one is about having impactful and strong cooperation with the stakeholders. In my personal opinion, I feel that the insurance industry is detached from other sectors. So the new regulatory authority should be there to create linkage between the insurance industry and other stakeholders, including government. So we expect that authority to have even more stronger, impact on other sectors also. The third expectation is to see an independent regulatory authority with the right institutional capacity. By institutional capacity, we are saying even that independent authority should have the right administrative apparatus. They should have a research and development wing. They should have a very strong legal and regulatory department. They should have a room for innovation and advancement of technology. In most developed markets, the regulatory authorities, they use what we call the RegTech. It's like what we call the fintech or insurtech of the insurance industry. So they should start providing ICT-based services, and they should be well equipped with all the necessary state-of-art technology so that they can create an enabling regulatory environment for the market. The other issue is about timing. As I said earlier, we are hearing so many things about having an independent authority, especially National Bank of Ethiopia and the government. They have started to give bold statements about the need and importance of having that authority. If we take the recent ones, they started from the year 2018 up to now. But even year 2080 is about 7 years. So the timing should get focus, and we need that institution as soon as possible. I can say that issue must also be considered. The other issue is about meeting international standards. As I said, we should be forward-looking. If we must have an independent regulatory authority, it should somewhat create a linkage with the international standards set in the supervisory atmosphere. So they should come up with standards that could meet the international regulatory criteria by international regulatory authorities, and they should also be somewhat similar with what other countries are doing. As I said earlier, we are planning to open up the market, so the authorities function should also take into account, the experience of other countries, and the standard and all issues should also be considered. The other issue, almost I have finished my presentation. Just to wrap up what I have been saying, Mr. Chairman, I have a clarion call, and stakeholders, or all the gathering here should consider that we need an independent regulatory authority as soon as possible. That's one issue, but that regulatory authority should be an institution with professionals with the right technology, dedication, as well as criteria that could fulfill the international standards. So I want to wrap up my presentation with this quote, which runs: the best time to plant a tree was some 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Thank you for your attention.
So interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Fikru, for giving us such an insight and also for finishing your presentation on time. So as you have followed the presentation, Mr. Fikru has given us why we need a independent regulatory authority, and also what criteria independent regulatory should fulfill to contribute the best for the sector, and the 4 pillars the regulatory independent should have, like supervisory, institutional, budgetary, and regulatory independence. So, as I said in the very beginning, it was taken as a direction by the National Bank of Ethiopia that we will have an independent insurance regulatory authority, and activities have started to be done. That is one thing. So the how part is really a concern for all of us in the industry, because it is the end result, the output, that makes it in favor of the industry or otherwise. So for this, we need to have active deliberation on issues relating to the how part. So next to the presentations, we'll have panel sessions. On the panel sessions, and then after on the question and answer sessions, you can raise issues of concern, and we will deliberate in detail on the rest of the items. So once again, thank you, Mr. Fikru, for your insightful presentation.